Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited. It's finally here, the day where I go and see A Quiet Place 2. We've all been waiting forever. It's been a year, but it feels like forever for this movie. I had my tickets planned. I was ready to go in 2020 when this film was about to be released, and then they held off, obviously, because of the situation in the world. But now we're back and we're gonna do it right. If you're wondering why this is not the normal come with me style video, I feel like this film is jinxed because it killed my camera. I started recording this on my normal vlog camera and it killed it. And then so I started recording on my phone and my phone died on the spot. Never happened before. So I'm going to take my big camera with me because we've got to record this experience. I just watched A Quiet Place 1 again, and I really forgot how great that film is and how different it feels, obviously because it's all quiet, but the soundtrack is just beautiful and the story, it's a love letter. Speaking of, as we know, A Quiet Place is written and directed by John Krasinski. He's not going to be in the second, but where he is going to be tonight is at the screening I'm at. No, unfortunately not in person, but he is doing a Skype Q&A afterwards. I'm lucky enough that I was invited to see this screening, so I am so excited to be there. And I did ask a question. Some of you may know he has been quoted saying that the first film was a love letter to his family. Obviously, his wife Emily Blunt starring in the first and the second. So I've asked if the first one is a love letter, what is the second one? And hopefully we'll get that answer. I don't know if it will get asked. We have to submit them beforehand. Also, I did want to record the Q&A, but unfortunately we're not allowed to record anything in the cinema. But I'm excited to be a part of it and I'm very grateful. A Quiet Place 2, although I've seen the trailer a couple of times, I've tried to remove it from my brain, but I know it picks up where we left off with the heartbreaking ending of the first. The IMDb blurb says, following the events at home, the Abbott family now face the terrors of the outside world. Forced to venture into the unknown, they realize the creatures that hunt by sound are not the only things lurking beyond the sand path. I am just super psyched for this one and I can't wait to tell you guys if it's any good. I have high hopes, I really do. The first one just blew me away, and watching it again last night, I was really reminded of the genius and simplicity to it. So let's hope for the second. Let's go check it out. Spoiler free, I'm gonna let you know whether it's worth venturing out into your local cinema safely for. Let's go. He did it. I am so happy. I could cry. I feel like because it was like a whole year of waiting for this film, I didn't know how to feel about it anymore. And rewatching the first one last night, followed up by this one, I like this one better. I think that this one is amazing and I'm so happy. I'm such a nerd. I'm like nearly crying. It was so good. Finally, it happened, guys. It happened. If you like the first one, you will definitely like the second one. Where to start? As I said in my intro, which was kind of all over the place because I had some technical issues, and then you guys saw I got to the cinema and the cinema was so packed we nearly had to lie in the beds in the front. Don't even ask about the beds. That's a whole different situation. But we found seats and As it started with such a bang, such high tension, and it didn't stop until the final moment. I was holding my breath possibly the whole time. The movie takes off exactly where they left, but also they do show parts to how they got to the first place. They do show some of the origin story or parts of kind of like a prequel situation, which I thought was really satisfying and set up the dynamics of the family in such a different way. The film had everything we loved in the first one. It had the beautiful music, the heartbreak, the intense love of the family and how they protect each other, but it also had so much more because the tension and the scares in this film are insane. I loved what he did with the tension because he used it in a certain way where it wasn't just about what was around the corner or some kind of monster. It was also based on time. So there was a time limit throughout some of the film that they kind of had to stick to. So there was so many things working at once, and that's what this film did. It gave you twice the scares, twice the intensity, and twice the tension, but it's also because they had parallel scenes running at the same time. So there was just so much action, but emotional action, and I think that's really hard to do. I'm not going to really go through a plot play-by-play because I feel like that gives away a lot. As I said, they did a Q&A afterwards, and I could not film this, unfortunately, but John did say in that he, and I thought this was put really well, instead of doing a sequel and adding in new elements to keep it fresh and alive, he just played around with what he knew worked, and it totally paid off. You can see so much love and attention to detail given in this film, and it's not trying too hard, which I really like, because I think that's something we see a lot in horror these days, unfortunately, especially from people who don't usually work within the genre. One other thing that I thought was really perfect in his Q&A is that he said that he made the film around a family and like this family kind of drama, love story between them, and then built the horror around that because you really cared about the characters. And I thought that that was perfect and really well said, because it reminded me of why films like Hereditary or Midsommar are so effective. It's because they build the idea around a breakup or, you know, a family drama. Obviously, that's putting it very lightly, but then they, you know, build the horror around that. And I felt like he did that perfectly in this film. You cared so much about the characters that the tension was because you loved them. Obviously, because of the monsters, but it was because of your love of the family that it came so organically. Some of these scenes in this movie will have your jaw clenching. My jaw hurts from clenching the entire time. It was just so insane. It wasn't like there was super gore or anything like that. It's just the monsters. The monsters are so scary, and the fact that they feed off sound is quite intense, obviously. And I love the little aspects within that he played with. It was just, it was so good. Just like the first one, the film stars Emily Blunt, Millicent Simmons, and Noah Jupe. It also stars Cillian Murphy, which he was phenomenal in this film, and the way that they built his character is really interesting and something that I think a lot of people are going to be talking about. But of course, like the first one, Millicent just steals the show. Her performance is jaw-dropping. She has such layers to her, and you really feel the movement from the first one to the second one. I should stop calling it A Quiet Place 1 and A Quiet Place 2 because it really is a part 2 and continues straight on. But what I like about this film, and what he said in the Q&A as well, is that he didn't know he was going to do a sequel. When he did the first one, it obviously was received so well that he decided to do a second one. He decided to take reins on that because he wanted to make an extension of part 1. And speaking of, they did answer my question in a roundabout way during the Q&A. As I said at the start, I asked if the first one is a love letter to your family, what is the second one? His answer was a little long and strange, but what I kind of get out of it is the first one is a love letter to his family, but also to his kids about protecting them. And the second one is what to do if that promise is broken. And it's a more of a love letter to his children as they grow older and how much strength and power they have. And when you watch it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The kids really shine in this movie, and they're put in really intense situations for children. So it's really interesting to see how brave they are. I just can't even fathom. The film, as I said, has a lot of tension. That's one thing I keep saying, but it also has a lot of jump scares, and I tell you, I was jumping out of my seat. And although sometimes there are predictable elements in this film, I will say that there were so many parts where I knew exactly what was going to happen, why they put down an object, why someone was standing where they were standing, if you know what I mean. I still went with it, and I still love that about it. I have to acknowledge that the director comes from a background where he didn't really like horror before doing this film, and he was really scared to make a genre film, and I do appreciate that he has taken elements that may be a little bit normy, but I think that the way he's worked them in, and again, the characters that drag them along, it gives it a new life, and I think it's totally okay. I think that this is just a really enjoyable film. There's something so special about the first one, the fact that it's almost completely silent. Obviously, it's called A Quiet Place, but you forget how much it draws you in watching it in pure silence and having that dreamy music, which I do believe, I will check this and put it on screen, but I do believe it would be the same composer in the first one and the second one. The music was very similar, very dreamy, very ambient, and also quite theatrical in parts. But the second one is just such an intense experience, and if you can see it in the cinema, I highly recommend seeing this one in the cinema. It was one of the best experiences. Obviously, because these monsters are attracted to noise, just hearing something drop or something move, it just sends your senses off, and hearing it in a quiet theater is just amazing. It was absolutely amazing. It was a packed theater that I went to, and everyone was so silent and on the edge of their seats. I just thought it was such an immersive experience, and I highly recommend, if it's safe for you to do so, to watch it in the theater, because there's going to be nothing like it. I feel so lucky that I was able to go see this at the cinema. Just like in the first one as well, we do see the monster a lot. And I just love this fact that A Quiet Place is one of the only monster films where I like the reveal straight away, and the monster is seen during the day all the time, and it's still really scary. I think that the monsters in these films are kind of perfect, and I just really like that that's never a factor. Sometimes you worry about seeing the monster too much, but I think that the monster's done in such a cool way. There's still not a lot that's explained around that, and I would love to learn more. They did ask him a question about if there was going to be more to the franchise, and he kind of shrugged it off and they passed on the question, but I would love for there to be some kind of prequel. But again, we're just so lucky that he struck gold twice, in my opinion. I just absolutely loved it. I do think he could do it a third time though, and I'm going to push for it, but I'm just so happy with this one, and it's just such a win for horror fans everywhere, because not only did he do this amazing, interesting part one, he's followed it up with probably a better part two. The movie is just scene after scene of this intense experience, and just like the first one, when it was at the last moment and it was just about to cut to credits, I didn't even realize because I was just holding my breath, and I would just love to have that experience again. This is one of those films that the first time you get to go see it is just amazing, so treasure that and get excited if you are able to see it. I'm gonna give this one a 9 out of 10. I liked it more than the first one. I love the first one too. I gave it an 8, rewatching it last night. Originality score, it is hard because I do think that the monsters in these ones are original. Obviously, there's other films where you have to be quiet and they play with, you know, that kind of sensory horror. But I do think that the way he's done this is just, yeah, it's just done so well, and the monsters during the day and all those kind of things. So maybe like a 6 for originality. And for scare, I'm going to give, this is hard because obviously, I'm going to say I've been giving high scare scores because I've been watching a lot of gory films, so it's easy for me to say, well, it's gory, so it's up here. But I personally found this to be a scary movie. In a good way, though. Not I'm scared to go to my bed to sleep tonight, but in a way that I was jumping throughout the whole film. So I'm going to give it a 7 for scare. At the start of the film, the presenter came on and was saying, you know, you guys, like, turn off your phones, get ready, but don't get comfortable because we don't want you to be comfortable during this whole film. We want you to be scared. And that was exactly what they did. I think that they knew they had something really special when they were marketing this, so that's why they held off a whole year, and I'm really glad they did. I hope you guys get to see this one in theaters. I don't know what anyone else thinks about this. We were one of the first people in the world to watch it, so Australia gets to see it a week before. That's why I wanted to keep this quite vague, because I know a lot of you haven't been able to see it yet. So I'm really excited to see what the rest of the community thinks. It's been a while since I've been able to come in this car and be really excited about a film, so yes, I'm just very happy, over the moon, and I can't wait to see what you guys think. If you guys want to subscribe, please do. I do 2 videos every single week talking about horror movies and talking about thrillers, and I can't wait to take you along to more movies with me in the future. So stay tuned and stay spooky and stay safe if you go to the cinema, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye, guys.